6 bone-chilling encounters with light warriors at midnight that will haunt you forever. The moon hung high, casting airy shadows on the weathered ground, when whispers began to spread through the desolate streets of Maplewood. People talked in hushed tones about the light warriors, ethereal beings said to graze the town under the veil of night. Some swore they saw them shimmering figures dancing in the darkness, glowing with otherworldly light. Eyes widened with fear and curiosity, tales burst from the lips of every drinker at the local diner. Those who claimed true sight spoke of ancient prophecies, of spirits torn from the shadows who emerged to battle against the encroaching darkness. Each story carried a weight, a chilling reminder of the unknown lurking just beyond the periphery of comprehension. In the dead of night, stories built themselves into something tangible. Small children were warned not to wander, while brave teenagers gathered in groups, daring each other to search for the mystical beings. The air vibrated with excitement and dread, thick like fog. A kid named Tommy, only 14 but with an intensity that squeezed fear from anyone, said he bounced off the walls of an abandoned house, breathless. "I swear I saw them," he boomed, eyes lit like beacons. "They were right there. Dancing." He described not just light, but color unlike any seen before, painting the walls in hues of azure and gold. But darker rumors curled around the truth like thick smoke. Reports surfaced people missing for days, only to return with frantic eyes and trembling hands. They whispered about things they couldn't quite articulate, faces in the dark, a power that consumed every ounce of their will. The town's collective heart raced, stuck between longing for adventure and paralyzing dread. As the clock struck midnight, the first flickering lights danced across the treetops. Could they be real? Light warriors or something darker? With a chorus of murmurs spread through the gathered crowd, feet shifted anxiously on the pavement, hearts pounding in synchronized rhythm. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you are still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you are there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The lights grew stronger, swirling in patterns that struck a strange chord within. A moment of hope, quickly crushed by the memory of those who had vanished. The energy shifted ominously, as if the very fabric of reality wobbled, teetering. And then, a low, reverberating roar. The crowd froze. An inexplicable presence crept through the air, a cool sensation encasing the nape of every neck. Who would be brave enough to step forward now? What would they find? Questions buzzed louder than the cries of confusion, echoing back as a figure emerged, flickering in and out like a broken light bulb. Was this the moment they had all been waiting for, or had they awoken something far more sinister? The figure swirled in the woodlands, and with every flicker, anticipation transformed into dread. A collective breath held among the townsfolk. The light pulsed rhythmically, a strange heartbeat echoing in the silence. Was it the light warriors, or something worse? Tommy, emboldened by his own bravado, was the first to take a step forward. "I'll go," he shouted, arms outstretched as if to embrace the flickering spectre. Others hesitated, but fire danced in his youthful eyes. He was ready to confront whatever nightmare awaited him. The whispers around him grew louder, Some called out for him to return, others gasped in fear. "Tommy, wait." A girl's voice pierced the heavy tension, but it was too late. He surged ahead, feet pounding against the cracked pavement, drawn closer by the luminous entity. Caught in the rapture of the light, he stumbled onto a clearing where shadows stretched long beneath the relentless beam. The light dimmed, and in that moment, the world teetered on a knife's edge. The air crackled with energy, warmer now, yet chilling all the same. "What do you want from us?" His voice quivered into the space, reverberating back to him. Without warning, the figure solidified, a radiant warrior enveloped in swirling colors, features obscured by brilliance. "We come for the lost," the voice resonated through the clearing, blending with the chorus of pine trees. The townsfolk shrank back, fear coursing through them like a rushing river. What had they been summoned to witness? Tommy, his heart racing, managed a nervous chuckle. "You seek those who disappeared?" "Yes," it replied, extending a translucent hand, shimmering as if woven from the light itself. "Each soul lost calls upon the chosen to unlock the truth." Confusion mingled with exhilaration. Tommy's gaze darted around, catching the looks etched on the faces of the crowd. Most recoiled, but a few older teens stepped forward, emboldened by curiosity or perhaps a misguided sense of heroism. But with the call of the light warrior came an ominous shiver. The ground quaked as if responding to an unheard command. Branches twisted and crackled above as shadows deepened, encroaching upon the light. From the thickets, monstrous whispers slithered forth. The air thickened, something unseen stalked just beyond the reach of illumination. "Turn back!" yelled a man in the crowd, panic igniting his voice. "You don't know what you're doing." Tommy's heart lurched, a chill racing down his spine. He had come seeking adventure, and now dread rippled like an unexplained current. On one side stood hope, on the other, lurking shadows hungry for fear. Behind their flickering protector, they couldn't see the swirling darkness creeping in, eager to devour what the light could no longer illuminate. Suddenly, everything fell silent. The bravery that had driven Tommy faltered, the light dimmed just enough for doubt to creep into his mind. Where had the others gone? Were they tied to some unseen fate, like marionettes left behind in a puppet show gone wrong? And then the shriek. A wild sound burst forth from the woods, sharp and unrelenting, echoing both power and fear. The light warrior hesitated, its luminance wavering, casting bizarre shadows that danced and twined around Tommy. Out of the corner of his eye, he caught a glimpse of a figure emerging from the trees, cloaked in darkness, eyes glinting with malice. It was no longer a battle between light and dark, it was a race against souls lost and the terror they faced in their return. What was waiting behind the veil, ready to feast upon their courage? As the crowd gasped, the figure turned its head, locking eyes with Tommy. He felt a chilling recognition, but panic gripped him. The woods whispered secrets he was not meant to hear, and every instinct screamed to run. But would they run from light warriors or the darkness they had inadvertently beckoned? Tommy stood frozen, an icy wave of terror coursing through him as the figure's sinister gaze bore into his soul. Time slowed, every heartbeat echoing in his ears. The townsfolk shifted in the shadows, their whispers escalating into a chorus of dread. "Run, Tommy!" they shouted, voices fraying at the edges. But he couldn't move. Something about the dark figure pulled at him, a magnetic force laced with recognition. The air turned cold, and uncertainty spiraled within him. Was this really happening? Could they be facing the very thing they had only whispered about in hushed tones at night? "Your fate is intertwined with the lost," The figure's voice slithered through the humid air, low and threatening. It is time to confront the price of your curiosity. With the last word, it stepped into the light's perimeter, revealing a gaunt face and hollow eyes that sparked a dormant fear in Tommy's heart. "Stop!" the warrior cried, stepping in front of Tommy, its dazzling aura pulsating defiantly. "You will not claim this soul." "Foolish light warrior," the dark figure hissed, its voice a personal storm that sent shivers down Tommy's spine. "You do not understand the shadows you dance with." The wicked smile that crept on its lips pierced right through the twilight, almost saving the fear it instilled. In that moment, the ground shuddered again, harder this time. A chorus of tree branches crashed down, and the woods groaned, as if mourning a long-buried truth. People fell back, stumbling over one another, now fully aware that the chaos lay not just in the woods, but within themselves. "Tommy!" A voice cut through the turmoil. It was Ellie, his childhood friend, fear painting her features. She broke through the crowd, eyes wild with panic. "You have to leave. It is not just about you anymore." With uncertainty tightening around him, Tommy took a shaky step backward. But the light flickered erratically, its strength tied to his resolve. If he backed down, what would happen to the others? The air shifted again, charged with tension. "What do you want from us?" he shouted, desperation bubbling to the surface. "To unearth the truth," the dark figure replied, its tone a blend of mockery and predation. "Curiosity holds a price, boy. You wish for answers, yet you shy away from consequences. The lost wish to return, but not without sacrifice." Tommy felt a weight settle in his chest, the reality of his choices crashing down around him. Were the lost souls really his to save? What sacrifice? He whispered, breath hitching. The warrior beside him radiated brilliance, intensifying as if to shield him from the imminent darkness. "You must offer what you hold most dear," the warrior replied, voice unwavering. "Only then can the light prevail." A collective gasp bubbled from the crowd, their shocked faces reflecting a tapestry of fear and disbelief. Tommy's stomach flipped. What did that even mean? In that moment, shadows wriggled at the edges of his vision, their tendrils creeping closer, eager to consume. "All you love can be taken," the figure cooed, amusement dancing in its eyes. "But can you bear to part with it?" A deafening silence fell, hearts pounding like thunderclaps. Suddenly, behind the figure, the trees shuddered, a thrumming heartbeat rising from the earth. Beneath the underbrush, something clamored to break free. Tommy felt the world tilt. He wanted to scream, to run, but what truth lay before him? As the first tendril of darkness snagged the hem of his jeans, he knew in that moment the choice that lay ahead could change everything forever. Would he save himself or reach for something greater, risking the unraveling of all he held dear? As the shadows closed in like a closing fist, the choice flickered in his mind, the pulse of the night surrounding him, a darkness awakening that had laid dormant, waiting for its time. What would he sacrifice to find all the answers, and what nightmares would rise as a result? Tommy's heart raced like a runaway train, the tendril of darkness tugging at him like a cold vice. Panic surged through his veins, drowning out the noise of the world around him, but the chill of reality settled deep within. The dark figure's hollow eyes bored into him, exuding an otherworldly hunger that made his skin crawl. "Sacrifice," he muttered, feeling the weight of the word sink in. Its meaning wrapped around him like chains. What did he hold dear? Who would he lose? The air crackled with a sinister energy, and the shadows throbbed, pulsating as if alive. Foolish boy. The figure laughed, a sound slick with malice. The decision is yours alone. Choose wisely, or watch everything fall apart. Ellie's expression twisted in horror as she raised her voice above the chaos. Tommy, don't listen to it. You can't let it manipulate you. The flicker of hope mingled with dread. Could he really fight this darkness? Or would it consume him whole? The warrior surged forward, its brilliant light creating a protective barrier around Tommy, illuminating the shapes of the townsfolk, their faces etched with fear. Hold tight to your heart, Tommy. Don't let despair blind you. But the words fell flat against the looming dread. The community was fracturing, fear strangling hope. They were shadows of their former selves, and their collective panic was like fuel feeding the encroaching darkness. Tommy felt it tightening, the grip of the past wrapping around him, threatening to drag him in. Make your choice. The dark figure cooed. Sacrifice one, save the rest. Don't you see? It is all part of the game. Sweat slicked Tommy's brow. In that moment, he thought of his mother's laughter, the warmth of Ellie's friendship, and the countless summer evenings spent under the stars. Could he bear the loss of any of it? A deep shudder ran through the ground, making everyone stagger. No. Tommy shouted, shaking. I won't lose anything. I won't. But as he screamed, the trees shattered above them, exploding into splinters of splintered wood and cascading leaves. An unseen force drew nearer, twisting the cries of the trapped souls, each voice haunting him with memories he couldn't fully grasp. Your inaction will cost you dearly, the figure warned, and a wave of fury rushed through Tommy. Perhaps his fear wasn't the only thing tugging at him. Maybe a different emotion, the determination to protect what he loved most, could unravel this darkness. What if I sacrifice the truth? He countered, surprise flickering in the figure's eyes as he found strength in his words. What if I abandon this dive into darkness and embrace the light instead? I refuse to be part of your cruel game. The vines howled, shrieking as the shadows writhed even more violently, but in that moment, a seed of defiance took root within him. His choice echoed, rippling through the air, unsettling everything it touched. What if the darkness needed his surrender as much as he needed to stand against it? As Tommy braced himself, he felt the tension shift like a dam about to burst. The ground became a battleground of light and shadow, radiant energy colliding with the encroaching darkness. And then, just as it seemed like everything would fracture, a light erupted around him, blinding, fierce, and undeniably powerful. It was then he realized the shadows could only consume him if he allowed them. But that real revelation raised a question that sent a chill racing up his spine. If he was to confront the darkness within, what horrific truths might he uncover in the process? In that moment of clarity, Tommy found his voice again. I will face what haunts me. What nightmares dwell within. But the darkness, it will not have me. And with those words, the figures in the shadows recalled, the weight of their hunger shifting. But as the ground shuddered beneath him, he understood, every choice had its consequences. The war between light and dark was just beginning, and Tommy's choices would shape the very fabric of their reality. He felt a pulse of truth, strong and undeniable. Hope flickered like a candle in the wind. But a deeper dread settled in the realization that some truths once uncovered could open doors to nightmares. Would he be ready for what lay ahead? As the ground beneath them rumbled ominously, Tommy's heart raced. He had stepped into the fray, but the greatest trials awaited him just around the corner, each revelation darker than the last. What awaited him in the darkness, and would he have the strength to embrace it? His breath quickened as the blinding light faded, revealing the chaos surrounding him. The townsfolk stood frozen, their faces pale, eyes wide with horror. The air was thick with tension, and the oppressive weight of fear felt like a vice squeezing his chest. Tommy's heart pounded louder than the thudding earth beneath him, drowning out the whispers of doubt that crept in. "Tommy." Ellie's voice broke through, firm yet shaking. "We need to rally everyone. This isn't over." He swallowed, uncertainty swirling within him. But how? The darkness is everywhere. With fierce determination, Ellie grasped his arm. "Together, we can push back. We can't let fear tear us apart." It was a flicker of bravery in an ocean of despair. But before Tommy could respond, the dark figure roared with laughter, a chilling sound that sent shivers down his spine. "Oh, sweet, naive boy. You think you can still rally them? I feed on fear, and their screams are like music to my ears." Tommy's courage wavered for a heartbeat, but he refused to let the figure's taunts drown him. The shadows trembled, reaching like skeletal fingers, and the warrior's light flickered, dimming under the weight of looming dread. "Stand with me, everyone," Tommy shouted, his voice rising above Théden. "We have a choice. We can fight this." But instead of rallying, panic etched deeper lines into the townsfolk's faces. "It is too late," one cried. "We can't fight the darkness. It has already taken so many." A guttural growl erupted from the depths of the shadows, warping the air like a sinister heat. In that moment, a group of townsfolk stepped back, their resolve crumbling like brittle leaves. Tommy's voice caught, the seed of doubt planting roots in the soil of his heart. "Sacrifice." The dark figure beckoned, its eyes narrowing. "You want to save your precious hearts? Then pick one to lose. It is the only way if you wish to resist the truth that will inevitably come." Tommy felt the ground pulse as if responding to the figure's words, eyes flickering with ignited fear. The ultimate betrayal hung heavy in the air. The very thought of casting someone into that terrible void made his stomach churn. "What do I do?" he whispered to Ellie, her presence both grounding and exhilarating. "I can't." Tommy, her grip tightened, fear's resolve lighting her eyes. "There is always a choice. Remember your truth. Remember why we fight." The shadows swirled violently, the weight of unspoken fears spilling over. "Choose. Choose." The figure shrieked, a cacophony of despair rising around them. Gritting his teeth, Tommy thought of the good times, the laughter, warmth, and the bright summer days. Those memories bristled against the encroaching darkness. "I won't sacrifice anyone," he shouted, defiance surging through him. "Not now, not ever." In response, waves of darkness convulsed, crashing against his defiance like thunder against a mountain. He sensed the dark figure's rage building as if his refusal had released a dam of sinister energy. The ground quaked even more violently, fissures snaking outward. The air turned frigid, and Tommy braced himself against the chilling gusts. Ellie was at his side, adrenaline surging through her veins. Together, she cried over the rising chaos. This was no longer just about light versus darkness, this was a battle for their very existence. Tommy closed his eyes, focusing on the warmth of connection he felt with Ellie and his community. "On 3. he yelled, drawing courage from the shadows that flickered like flames around them. 1, 2, 3. They surged forward, a wave of determination, light radiating out from where they stood united. The shadows shrieked, clawing at them, but Tommy held firm, drawing on the strength of his love and friendship. We can do this. Together. But just as the tide shifted in their favor, a horrifying roar echoed through the night, shaking the very air. In that dreadful moment, Tommy realized something chilling. The darkness he fought against Vasanti just outside, it was lurking in every heart, waiting to break free. As he opened his eyes, ready to press onward. Something human and familiar shifted in the shadows, a figure stepping forward that sent an icy dread calling through his gut. Tommy, it whispered, voice like crushed glass. It is not just your choice anymore. His heart stopped. What had he unleashed? Would he face the darkness now creeping at the edge of his soul? Or was the truth far worse than he could ever imagine? The air crackled with an electricity that gnawed at Tommy's resolve. He could barely breathe as the familiar shadow approached him, the looming figure barely taking steps but rather gliding, a ghost from his past. The face was clear yet obscured, features warped by time, every line heavy with unsaid words. Tommy didn't want to believe what he saw, yet the truth clawed its way up from the depths of his memory. Emily? He gasped, confusion choking him. His little sister. Her eyes spun with a maelstrom of emotions, anger, sadness, and something darker, something that echoed the very chaos around them. You left us, she said, each word a dagger. You let the darkness in. You could have saved me. No, he whispered, a torrent of guilt crashing through him. I tried. I couldn't have known. But the shadows swelled around Tommy, responding to Emily's pain, feeding on the cracks in his heart. He felt himself wavering, doubting his strength while the rest of the townsfolk gasped at the uncanny apparition. Tommy! Ellie shouted, her voice breaking through the hatch. Focus on us. Your light. Your light? Emily's voice twisted, shrill and haunting. What good is it when you were already dimmed? You wanted to lead, but look where it got me. A cold wind howled, wrapping Harry more tightly in its grip. The darkness around the townsfolk flickered, whispering promises of despair, threatening to swallow them whole if they did not act. Tommy, don't you listen? Ellie cried, her eyes glinting with desperation. Fight back. Remember who you are. The dark figure beside Emily chuckled, a sound of absolute malevolence. Why fight it? Embrace it. Fear is all that is left for him now. This isn't just about light, it is about what he has hidden within him. As if summoned by the chaos, monstrous shapes slithered from the shadows, tendrils reaching toward him like dark vines. Each tendril pulled at Tommy's heart, taunting him with memories of regret. No. This can't be real. He shouted, feeling the walls of reality tremble. Real enough, Emily spat. You think your connection to them will save you. They see you as a coward, as weak. Stop. He cried, shaking his head vehemently. You're not real. You're a construct of this darkness. A deep rumble echoed from the ground as if the world itself was ambivalent, the ground heaving with the tension of disbelief. The townsfolk shifted uneasily, their faith faltered. He felt the collective despair gnaw at his spirit like ravenous wolves. Now you see it, the dark figure sneered, creeping closer, its twisted form transforming as it pulled energy from Tommy's fear. When it is not just darkness outside, but within, when the fight is against yourself. It's a battle you can never win. Tommy gritted his teeth, fists balled tight as he wrestled against the overwhelming dread. No. I won't succumb. I refuse to let you take my heart. In that case, the shadows rasped ominously, swirling in a furious vortex, prepare to lose more than you may ever imagined. Suddenly, the skies roared, the air trembling under the weight of their anger, revealing a glimmer of light at the horizon bright against the gloom that threatened to consume everything. The townsfolk gasped. Look! Someone shouted, pointing as a beam of luminescence burst forth from the dark clouds. It cascaded towards them, igniting the very air around Tommy and Ellie. Now, Tommy, Ellie urged. Let it in. But just as he reached for that light, the dark figure shrieked a sound so piercing it fractured the air. You think you can escape so easily? The truth is more horrific than you know. Embrace your guilt. Tommy froze, caught between hope and despair. Was this light truly the salvation they needed? Or the final deception of the darkness clawing at their souls? With a beating heart, he made his choice. But the lingering question remained once he confronted the darkness within. What would he have to sacrifice to truly be free? The answer hovered in the air, waiting to be discovered, as the shadows closed in around them, their whispers echoing in the chaos. Would he withstand the test, or would he crumble under the weight of his past? Tommy's heart raced, the swell of light and tendrils of darkness converging in a battle between hope and despair. He stretched his hand toward the beam of luminescence, its warmth enveloping him like a comforting embrace, tempting him to let it in. But as the shadows slithered closer, wrapping around his limbs like cold, unyielding chains, he hesitated. Tommy! Ellie shouted again, urgency blasting through her voice. You have to choose now. The light can heal you, but you need to claim it. The figure beside Emily writhed, its laughter echoing through the cracks of Tommy's resolve. Foolish boy! You think they can save you? It leaned in close, insidious whispers filling his ears. They don't understand. No one can fix what is broken inside you. Tommy gritted his teeth, pain seeping through every fiber of his being. Memories surged forth, his sister's laughter, her vulnerable smile, and then her pain as darkness consumed their lives. If only I had been there, he thought, the guilt constricting around his chest like a noose. Stop! He yelled, trying to drown out the murmurings that clawed at his sanity. You don't control me. The darkness reveled in his turmoil, shimmering with malice. Every shadow bears the weight of your failures. Every defeat is etched into your soul. You think this light can save you? Pathetic. Tommy pushed back against the fear, determined. He remembered Ellie's words. He had to focus on the light. The warmth intensified, drawing him closer, offering forgiveness. He imagined it washing over him, cleansing the darkness, illuminating every corner of his guilt-ridden heart. Then, in a flash, he saw Jared standing in the crowd, eyes wide with fear. Tommy, please. Jared's voice rang out desperately. You are not alone. We're with you. Fight. With renewed strength, Tommy met the gaze of each townsfolk, their eyes reflecting hope mingled with dread. The specter of Emily faltered, the fury in her eyes shifting to uncertainty. You can't, she echoed weakly. You don't understand what you must pay, so what? Tommy shot back, his voice steady. What can be worse than living in this torment? The shadows hissed, shrieking in rage, but Tommy held firm. The light above pulsed like a heartbeat, casting away the overwhelming dread that surrounded him. He felt the vibrations of the townsfolk, a collective strength rooted in shared pain. Together, he yelled, rallying those nearby. We can fight it. This darkness feeds on our fear. We need to shine our light. But as the first glimmers of light enveloped Tommy, the figure beside Emily surged forward like a tidal wave, its voice rising to a deafening scream. You think yourself brave? This is merely the beginning. You'll face horrors beyond your imagining. Just as the light began to soar, a chilling wave of darkness swept through the air, sweeping the townspeople off their feet. The ground shook violently, casting them into disarray. The surge of energy diminished, a force field of dread pushing them back. Hold tight. Ellie screamed, her voice strained, desperately trying to anchor Tommy as shadows wrapped around her, clawing at her resolve. Tommy felt the pull of despair, but the light surged again, flickering defiantly against the encroaching darkness. He clenched his fists, trying to draw power from the memories he cherished. Together. He shouted again, channeling his resolve into the space that cradled them. And then, with a sudden jolt, the shadows shrieked louder, their twisted forms beginning to fracture. Light erupted from Tommy, cascading around them like a raging storm, pushing back against the inky blackness. But as the figures shrank away, Emily's eyes remained locked onto his, confusion etched on her face. What do you really want? She whispered, and Tommy realized it wasn't only a question of light and darkness. This was about redemption, not just for himself, but for her too. As that thought hung in the air, the darkness writhed, revealing its darkest secret. What you pay when facing the truth is often never what you expect. With the shadows clawing back, Tommy's breath hitched. What had he unleashed? As the light fought back the encroaching darkness, a new understanding filled him, one that demanded a sacrificial leap into the unknown. And in that moment, an unsettling silence fell around them, thicker than the night air. What would it demand of him next? The answer loomed above like a storm cloud, ready to unleash true peril at any moment. Would he stand and embrace it, or falter in the face of his darkest truths? As the insidious whispers of the darkness receded for the moment, Tommy felt an unfamiliar weight in the air, a palpable tension wrapping around him and his friends. He could see the fear flickering in Ellie's eyes, mirrored across the crowd as they huddled together, some holding hands tightly, others shifting nervously. It struck him anew that this was about more than just him. Their fates were intertwined in this twisted battle against shadows and light. Get ready, he warned, his voice booming, cutting through the heavy silence. They'll come for us again. The townsfolk nodded, their faces drawn yet determined. But as they braced themselves, Tommy's heart sunk at the thought of the price looming over him like an ominous shadow. What did the darkness mean by pay what is necessary? He couldn't shake the fear that whatever price he had to pay would cost him dearly. Ellie's voice quivered, pulling him back from his spiraling thoughts. You feel it too, don't you? It is not just about light. There is something deeper, something that connects us all. Yeah, I do, he admitted, a shiver coursing through him. Whatever is coming, it is not just after me. He gathered the courage to take a step toward her, sensing other eyes fall on them. It wants all of us. Just as he spoke, a cold gust swept through the clearing. The temperatures dropped, and he could see Ellie's breath fog in the air. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. They all felt it, the creeping dread curling into the pit of their stomachs like an unwelcome guest. Suddenly, the ground shook again, but this tremor was different. Something dark and unholy began to rise from the depths. Tommy's stomach flipped as wailing voices echoed around him, a cacophony of lost souls clawing for release. The shadows thickened, swirling like a storm, and from within, monstrous, twisted figures emerged, specters of despair with anguished faces and hollow eyes. Do you think you can hold on to hope? The tall figure with long, gaunt limbs whispered, its voice like gravel scraping against metal. You'll soon discover that hope is merely a mirage, a fleeting flicker against what is to come. Tommy's heart pounded in his chest, fear grappling for control. He turned to Ellie, shouting over the rising howl of the winds that seemed alive with rage. We won't let it take us. We have to believe in the light. He felt the warmth of the glowing luminescence simmering just above them, ready for his call if only he could wield it without the looming burden of sacrifice. The shadowed creature lunged forward, its mouth stretching into a gaping maw filled with jagged teeth that dripped with darkness. Panic erupted. Townsfolk screamed, stumbling backwards. But Tommy stood his ground. If he faltered now, the darkness would take them all. With a scream of defiance, he raised his arms to the light. We will face this together, he roared, channeling every ounce of strength through him. Light poured from his fingertips, bright and blinding, but as it illuminated the battlefield, he could feel the painful tug of energy that left him vulnerable. Ellie rushed to his side, reaching out to amplify the light. That is it. Together, she shouted, her face fierce with determination. As their light united, a golden barrier began to form around the villagers, pushing back against the encroaching shadows. Yet, within that light, Tommy could hear the faint echoes of the darkness's laughter, creeping closer and closer, mocking their efforts. What if the shadows demand something no one is prepared to give? The spectre taunted, its voice slithering across the air like a serpent. Each flicker of light reveals more of your darkened soul. You think shining bright will save you. Tommy's blood ran cold, a chill of realization gripping him. Ellie's gaze caught his, and he could see the unspoken fear reflected back. What could the darkness unveil that they weren't ready to confront? Just as he was about to respond, the shadow lunged with renewed vigor, and with it came the final question swirling in the chaos: what would happen when the darkness demanded its due? An ominous chill once again flooded the air, and he could feel the overwhelming uncertainty tightening around his heart. Would they withstand the price of truth revealed, or would they succumb to the shadows that lay waiting? As the dark figures advanced, Tommy knew the answer would soon shatter whatever hopes remained. Who would pay the price when the truth of their past began to unfurl, revealing secrets that could destroy them all? The battle had only just begun, and the cost loomed like a ghost barely out of reach. The shadows surged forward, slashing through the light like knives through flesh. Tommy felt each advance in his bones, a cold tide pulling at his resolve. The barrier flickered, shimmering as the darkness clawed at its edges, and he could feel Ellie's grip tightening on his arm, her nails digging into his skin like a lifeline. We can't let it break, she cried, her voice strong but edged with panic. I know, he shouted back, desperation clawing at his throat. The villagers behind them huddled together, murmurs of fear ricocheting off the trees, mixing with the scratching whispers of the dark figures. Tommy could feel their collective dread. Each soul harbored a shadow, and now, it was rising, hungry, and fully aware of them all. Then, a voice broke through the same gravelly tone now echoing from multiple throats, layers piling up, a choir of despair. You cling to your light, but it is your own fears that will expose you. What will you sacrifice to shield your loved ones? Tommy's insides twisted. He didn't want to think about sacrifice. He didn't want to consider what the darkness might demand. But there was a weight behind the words. Each villager had their own pain hidden beneath a mask of courage. Would it take someone else's life? Or perhaps a forbidden secret buried deep in their hearts? The swirling shadows paused, as if they fed off the tension. Then the tall spectre leered, exposing jagged teeth in a wicked grin. One must step forward, or they all fall. To protect the light, you must confront the darkness within. A cry broke from the crowd. No. Someone shouted, a voice thick with panic, cutting through the cacophony. Shut up. Another replied, a blend of fear and anger. Tommy felt his heart race, chaos bubbling up. Would fear make them fracture? Could they withstand the pressure? He turned to Ellie, whose face was pale yet fierce, each flicker of the barrier showcasing the determination in her eyes. This isn't just about us, she said, her voice shaking but steady. It is about everyone. We stand or we fall together. Tommy drew in a shaky breath. The lights around them sparked as he realized this life they led wasn't just for himself or Ellie, but for every flickering hope clinging to the edges of despair. The memories of laughter, warmth, and love echoed around him, and for a moment he felt hope flood his veins. But then the shadows surged, dark and unyielding. A jagged arm flicked out, shattering a piece of their barrier. Panic surged again, whispers of doubt filled the air like smoke. Step forward. The spectre demanded, its voice a chilling crescendo. Reveal your darkness. It is the only way to end this struggle. Tommy felt the weight of that command echoing against his bones. He could feel the weight of everyone's gaze drumming against his back. No one wanted this. But did they have a choice? What if someone had to give up their deepest secrets? Would they be able to handle the truth behind their shadows? He stepped forward, heart pounding against his ribs. It is me. I'll face my truth. Ellie's eyes widened in horror. Tommy, no. You can't, but it was too late. The shadows recoiled, a wave of anticipation coursing through the air. The moment hung suspended, a flickering heartbeat in the chaos. What will you reveal? The spectre hissed, its eyes blazing. Tommy's breath caught in his throat. Was this the moment where everything shattered? Would his revelation bring freedom or doom? And what if it only opened the floodgates for more to come? As shadows danced hungry around him, his mind raced. He was teetering on the edge of an abyss, facing not just the darkness outside but the terrifying one within. What price would he pay, and would it be enough to save them all? The silence stretched, heavy and electric, and Tommy wondered, was it truly fear that awaited in the darkness, or was it just the raw, unfiltered truth? The shadows swirled, and somewhere deep inside, he knew that the next step he took could seal their fate. What lay waiting, just beneath the surface, was far more dangerous than any ghostly creature. What kind of darkness lingered in their hearts, and would it bring them together or tear them apart? In the stillness that followed, the air was alive with a sense of impending fate, and Tommy stood at the center, his heart pounding like the drums of war. With each beat, he felt the weight of his choice settle heavily upon him. The darkness danced just beyond the flickering lights, twisting with desire and menace. He clutched at his chest, feeling the tightness crawl as the shadows beckoned him to embrace his fears. Face your truth. The dark spectre shrieked again, its voice a twisted melody that resonated deep within him. The townsfolk held their breaths, eyes wide and terrified, as they felt the weight of the moment swell. Tommy gazed into the darkness and found it pulsating, alive with all he had tried to ignore. I won't let you control me, he blurted, grasping at the edge of his courage. The spectre's laughter echoed like a twisted chorus, feeding on his doubt. Then step forward. It coaxed, a sinister grin stretching across its face. Tommy felt Ellie's hand squeeze his arm, grounding him amidst the chaos. You can do this, she whispered, her eyes wide with unshed tears, a mix of fear and pride shimmering in the darkness. Tommy's mind raced with memories, his sister's laughter, the warmth of summer evenings, the feeling of safety. He thought of the dreams he still held on to, and the fears that shackled him. With a deep breath, he closed his eyes, drawing strength from those very memories. Perhaps it was the truth he had hidden all along that he needed to confront. I am scared, he admitted quietly, voice trembling but resolute. Scared I'll lose everyone I love, scared I'll be lost myself. He opened his eyes to the crowd, letting the tears fall, feeling the burden of his heart laid bare. But we can't let the darkness win. Together, we have to fight. Whatever it takes. At that moment, the shadows reared back, startled, anticipating his words, faces frozen in fear. The ground trembled, as if reality itself hesitated, waiting for his decision. Sacrifice. The spectre hissed, sensing the shift. You still don't understand. The price of truth is unheard of. Tommy inhaled sharply, memories washing over him, flooding his mind with images of his sister trapped in pain, of his mother's love strained by grief. No more. He shouted, his voice echoing like a war cry. I'll bear the truth, but I will not let it control me. Without realizing it, his light surged, pulsing with vigor. It was their collective hope, filling him like a raging tide, pushing against the shadows that threatened to drown them. The townsfolk, emboldened by his call, stepped forward, united in shared courage. Together. They echoed, the sound rising like a chant, fuel igniting beneath their feet. As the darkness seethed, creeping toward the threshold of light, Tommy felt the corners of his soul unravel. Memories pressed in on him, demanding recognition. The shadows writhed, twisting around him as souls fought back. They burrowed into his heart, reminding him of every time he felt he failed, moments forgotten, buried deep in the recesses of his mind. Then he heard her voice again. You left me, Tommy. Emily stood there, no longer just a spectre, but a harbinger of his guilt. You let them in. Emily. He cried, locking eyes with her. I tried to save you. I was scared, I didn't know how. You didn't believe in yourself. You didn't see me. She stepped closer, the darkness feeding on her words, but something in Tommy, a flicker of hope, held firm against the onslaught. I see you now, he whispered fiercely. And I am sorry. I should have fought harder for you. Every word crushed against the shadows, staggering their advance. Light radiated from within, illuminating everything they had been through, the bonds they shared. Yes. Ellie shouted, sweeping forward to grasp Tommy's hand. Together, we are unbreakable. We'll face the darkness. Tommy felt the electricity of their connection spark like fireworks, a promise layered in every heartbeat. You don't have to be alone. He shouted into the tempest of darkness, gripping his friends closer. Then with a roar, the darkness pulled back. Momentarily stunned by the surge of light cascading from Tommy, Ellie, and the townsfolk. Fight. Tommy cried out again, never wavering. They came together, arms raised toward the cracked skies, calling forth their courage with one unyielding voice. Light erupted, a blinding force that tore through the shadows, cleansing the darkness that had haunted them for so long. The townsfolk felt it shift, a powerful surge of hope spiraling outward as every flicker of light connected with theirs. "I will never let you claim any part of my soul," Tommy shouted, determination flooding his every fiber as tendrils of darkness shrieked in fury, recoiling beneath the radiant pulse, forging alongside their shared memories, healed wounds, laughter, love, and trust. As the luminous wave swept through the woods, the figures of darkness dissolved like mist, revealing the emotional scars that had weighed them down for too long. The haunting echoes of lost souls dissolved into soft whispers, leaving only a glow of light, a new dawn rising from the ashes. And then, there was silence, an affirmation of connection, a promise. They stood together, breathless and shining beneath the brightening stars. As the first light of dawn spilled over Maplewood, Tommy looked at the faces around him, Ellie, Jared, the townsfolk. Each face, once clouded with fear, now glimmered with acceptance. "We made it," he breathed, feeling the warmth of each heartbeat around him. The communal bond forged in darkness shone brightly now, a beacon against the night. Together, they had faced the shadows and emerged a tapestry of truths woven from shared pain and triumph. "Let us go home," Tommy said, a smile breaking across his face. They moved forward, leaving behind the darkness that once loomed so heavily over them. Yet he felt the weight of what lay ahead, the journey incomplete, it was only just beginning. But together they would face it, never again would fear consume them. Gathering his friends, Tommy took a deep breath, cherishing the moment. "To new beginnings," he whispered. With one last glance back into the woods that would forever echo with memories, they stepped into the light of a new day together. Now, my friends, this is the moment we need your support. Don't let the light fade on this amazing journey. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss out on our next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Your support is vital. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this stunning ending. We want to hear from each of you, and don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. You need to be part of this incredible community. Your voices matter.